This episode is brought to you by the new D9 Business Directory. Shop Greek owned brands from a variety of categories. And if you are a Greek author or business owner, add your profile today at d9business.com. Honoring those trailblazers who preceded us is just as important as leaving a legacy for those who will follow us. Greekly Speaking is about highlighting Greeks today who are creating positive change for tomorrow. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Hello, welcome to Greekly Speaking. I'm Eric Tucker, and joining me for this episode is Brother John Lamothe of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Brother Lamothe was initiated in the Mu Zeta chapter of Phi Beta Sigma in 1988 on the New Brunswick campus of Rutgers University. He was born in Zaire, Central Africa. He spent time in Haiti before moving to the U.S. at 8 years of age. While at Rutgers, he triple majored in political science, African studies, and philosophy. He recently retired as an assistant director of the Department of Labor for New Jersey after 30 years. He's also served several leadership positions in Phi Beta Sigma, including Eastern Regional Director of Education, International Director of Education, as well as International Vice President. And he is currently a candidate for the position of International President. Brother John Lamothe, thank you for joining us on Greekly Speaking. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Brother Tucker, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, the pleasure's all ours. Based on all the content we've been seeing on social media, we know that you guys are putting in work in your camp and trying to get all the messages out there as far as what we as fraternity brothers should be focusing on. And we appreciate you just for contributing to all that good content, man. So how's everything going so far for you today?
Oh, everything is great. Just excited about, being on this side of the on the earth and having an opportunity to just kind of like share, enjoy life and being here on the show. So I'm really ready to get into this interview and have a good conversation.
I love it, man. I agree with you 100%, man. In the pandemic era, any day above ground, man. I wish we can give the pandemic a vaccination and then just get this all over with. Let's focus on that. But we're going to be learning a lot about some of your initiatives and some of the work you've done in the past. But first, as we do on Greekly Speaking, let's learn a little bit about your Greek background. Did you have any Greek influences in your life coming up?
Coming up, I did not. Being first generation, coming from the islands, there was no Greek influence. So going to Rutgers, being exposed to Greek life for the first time, I actually had to convince my parents why it was important for me to join a fraternity, because from their perspective, I was only going to college to get an education, to get a degree. So I had to kind of explain to them the value of being a member of a fraternity. So I introduced Greek life to everybody that came after me and my family.
What was it about Phi Beta Sigma that attracted you to that chapter and to the organization as a whole?
Yeah, so quite candidly, I have 4 siblings, all women, all sisters, and I was the only male. So I came to college saying I wanted to find me some brothers, okay? They wouldn't be blood, but I wanted to find some brothers. So I know when to join a fraternity. And back then, interest meetings were called smokers. So I started going to the fraternity smokers, and I went to the Iota smoker first, and I went to the Alpha smoker second. And the third smoker I attended was the Phi Beta Sigma smoker. And after that smoke, I said, there's no need for me to go to any other smokers, because I just felt that at that time, Sigma was calling my name. I saw the different personalities of the brothers that spoke at the smoker. And I said, hey, I don't have to fit into any type of image or stereotype. So Sigma was for me. And I made my decision at that time that I was going to become a member of Phi Beta Sigma, joined the Squires Club, which is men interested in becoming Sigma. So that first semester, freshman year, there was about 25 of us that were in the Squires Club. I was a president of that Squires Club. And then the following semester, out of that 25, 10 of us, had the grades and the money to actually start a pledge process. So spring 88 was my indoctrination into Phi Beta Sigma.
I love that word, indoctrination. 88, that's old school, man. That's one word for it. But that's awesome. So what was that experience like? What was the name of your line?
So my line name was called the Dream Merchants, and there were 10 of us on the line. And we as you know, when line developed certain characteristics, and as a line, we were very creative in our storytelling, right? So when it came time to, making brothers laugh and just kind of lighten the mood from other activities, every one of us had the ability to tell a funny story and a great story. So they called us as a line the Dream Merchants.
And what was your line name?
So my line name was Cool Breeze, right? So I was number 5 of 10 in the middle of the line. And again, I was the line president of my pledge class, but I was so mellow online, like, whatever was going on, it was high intensity, low intensity, medium intensity. My demeanor was like, whatever has to happen, let's get it done. So the big brothers at the time gave me the line name Cool Breeze.
Okay, Cool Breeze. So what kind of community service projects were you guys known for?
Well, on campus, we did a lot of work with elementary schools and middle schools. We had the Paul Robeson School literally right off campus. A lot of the brothers did tutoring, students that needed help with math and sciences and even reading. My chapter was well known for that. We were actually recognized by the university for the work that we did. By the time I was a senior, we were mentoring 3 different elementary schools because we had about 35 brothers on the yard. 35 young Sigma men at a PWI, predominantly white institution, was pretty impressive. And we had impact because we did a lot of mentoring. And we did programs with a lot of the white fraternities. They all had the houses. We didn't have a house. So we were going to their frat houses and had joint functions, awareness issues. So that was a really good experience too, for both their fraternities as well as Phi Beta Sigma, because we got a chance to really get to know what they did, and they got a chance to kind of learn a little bit about our culture.
Well, that's definitely one way to grow as a unit, right? Is by collaborating and stepping outside your own zone, so to speak, and being able to, get exposure to other ideas and concepts. So, I mean, you were a triple major. You had
Yes.
time to study and handle your frat business as well. Why were you so driven, and how has that impacted your life today?
Well, that's a great question. I always give everything, first to God, giving me the strength and staying motivated. But second after God, it's got to be my parents. Both my parents, educators. My father he was in Central Africa. He taught in Canada. He taught in New Jersey. So education was a priority in my family. And I learned that very early on. I also learned that we have to be able to provide support, and services for those who are in more need than us. So I learned that at home. And that carried over to when I became a student at Rutgers University. So it kept me focused, kept me driven from home through my collegiate experience and beyond.
Obviously, you've got a pattern of community service and outreach, and you've also worked on various levels within the fraternity. Just share with us briefly, what was it like going from that local chapter level to working on the regional levels as well as the international levels within the organization?
Actually, it was very eye-opening because I really did not have any interest of serving on a regional level. I've always been very adamant about, all impact starts locally. And if you really focus in on trying to create real change locally, then you're doing something. And there was a brother, a mentor, like shout out to Brother Keith West, who came to me and said, "Hey man, I love your energy. You're a positive brother, been doing some great things at the chapter level, at the state level. You need to consider running for a regional position." And at that time in 2006, I was like, I just want to focus, on local. And he said, "No, you're the type of brother that the fraternity needs." So he actually got me to run my first campaign on a regional level. So again, good, bad, or indifferent, that goes to Keith West. I started noticing, listen, I can make an impact on a regional level. So I did 4 years. And because for me, it's really about, providing support for our brothers and providing support for our communities. And that's who I am at the very core. And once I noticed that I was able to provide some real impact in programs and initiatives at the regional level, I said, let me try doing something at the international level. Hence why I kept progressing, up the ladder in Phi Beta Sigma, doing some work, at multiple levels of the organization.
I'm just taking a peek at some of your noteworthy accomplishments. And one thing that strikes me is the charting of a school in Ghana, West Africa. I mean, that had to be a very fulfilling experience.
Oh, amazing, incredible experience. First of all, I was born on the continent of Africa. So that was very, personal to me. My daughter's name is Zaira because I was born in Zaire, right? When that concept first evolved, I wasn't on the general board, and the previous administration talked about creating an opportunity for Phi Beta Sigma to be on the continent. Then I got elected to the general board as an international director of education. And I said, well, the president, let me have this project because I really want Phi Beta Sigma to be the first. And we're still the only D9 organization that has, a school on the continent of Africa. So our school, the Phi Beta Sigma Vocational Technical School, is the pride and joy, I think, of all men of Sigma should be very proud of the fact that we opened a school that's teaching young students, technical skills, giving them the opportunity, to have like a trade to earn an honest living. So very excited about that, man. It was just amazing to go over there and open the school, have the ceremony, and see those children be real appreciative. So yeah, shout out to all those that had the idea and the concept and the administration under President Mason, who poured money into it, and all the brothers that were involved with the process. But as the International Director of Education, I facilitated that process.
Talk to me about chartering activity that took place in Canada. What was that about?
Well, Tucker, you've done your work. You've done your work.
Hey, I'm just doing research. You did the work. I'm just looking at points of interest, and I'm thinking, man, this is great because it represents such a diverse set of experiences when you're dealing with people from different mindsets, cultures, and so forth, all on board with that common cause of Phi Beta Sigma. So I'd be curious to know, how did that come about?
Well, it's interesting you use the term culture because my upbringing being, I was born on the continent of Africa. I went to Haiti for 8 years. Then I came to the States. So my thinking and concept has always been global on everything that I do. So I actually had talked, to the international president about, okay, let's look at other opportunities. And brother Nolan Fontaine, shout out to him, who's the current chapter president in Canada. He had the same contest. He was made in the Philadelphia Nu Sigma chapter, moved and is pursuing his graduate PhD over in Toronto. So he got a couple of brothers over there who were interested in starting a chapter. So they reached out to me. I said, let's do it. Let's establish a chapter, international chapter. Anytime you have an opportunity to bring Sigma to different communities, we got to go for it. As long as the interest there, as long as there's a need there, right? And those brothers worked really hard. And as the vice president at the time, in 2019, I did everything that I could within my efforts in terms of providing resources, support, ideas to ensure that we chartered a chapter in Toronto, Canada. So under my tenure as vice president, we were able to charter a chapter, in Toronto. And those brothers are thriving, doing great work in the community. And we want to continue to provide them the support that they need to continue to thrive in Toronto, Canada.
That's great, man. Building a legacy, witnessing a legacy being built. That's a privilege and an honor.
For me, it's not about self-elevation or promotion, but what can I do as a brother, as a member, to elevate Phi Beta Sigma? What can I do as a leader in Phi Beta Sigma to elevate my brothers, to elevate our chapters, to elevate our, the states and the regions that Phi Beta Sigma is at. And I think, because of that, I'm supremely driven to ensure that Phi Beta Sigma is always in a good place. And while we're in a good place, how do we get to a better place? Or how do we get to a great place?
Talk to us about Sigma Forward. Where did that concept come from? And what is it about that concept that you would want to share with the brothers in the audience?
Absolutely. So for me, we have a notable brother, President Kwame Nkrumah, who would always say in his country, in Ghana, always forward, never backward. And when I went to Ghana to open the school, we visited the mausoleum, and that phrase is posted everywhere. And that stayed with me in 2013, always forward, never backward. And I just feel like as an individual, as a collective people, as organizations, that's what we really need to be focused on, always going in a positive direction. And I thought that would be like a real great message for this platform to really talk about Sigma moving forward. That we really have to be progressive in our thinking, in our actions, forward thinking and forward acting in all that we do. And if we really condition ourselves to be thinking forward, to be acting forward, we're going to grow as individuals, we're going to grow as an organization, and we certainly are going to be able to help our communities grow as well. So that is the concept behind, the platform Sigma Forward.
What would you say to that set of brothers, that population that haven't quite been connected on various levels? What's the key to getting them re-engaged?
Well, again, that is a challenge that I think all the experience, and particularly the fraternities, a lot of these sororities, once they become members, they stay connected, they stay financial, they stay active. Not so much on the fraternity side. So that's a challenge that we all experience, but specifically within Phi Beta Sigma, I think the key is telling these brothers that we need them. We need them. Our communities need them. The organization needs them. There's a lot there's a lot of things happening, in our communities. And I always tell brothers who are financial and active, don't bring a brother back just for the sake of increasing the numbers in your chapter, right? You really want to bring the brother back because there's a lot of work to be done in our respective communities. And I think, that's how we have to appeal to our, to our non-active brothers, that we want them and we need them to get the work done that's in our communities. The other part is, sometimes even these brothers that aren't necessarily active with the organization, they still stay connected, with their line brothers, with their sands, with brothers that made them, with brothers that they made. So there's still a connection with the organization. So we got to use those brothers that they're connected with, that are active, because at the end of the day, it's relationships that keep people connected and grounded. So I always say, listen, reach out to your line brothers, reach out to brothers that you made, reach out to brothers that you came into the organization. They want to hear your voice as opposed to somebody you don't know, to try to bring them back into the organization. But an interesting statistic is that, we've got about nearly 50,000 brothers that are connected to our blueprint, but yet they're not, active with the organization. So we need to have a strategic plan to address those 50,000 brothers, right? How are we going to break that up to ensure that somebody's reaching out to them to try to bring them back? When I was vice president, I developed a program called Bring Them Back, and we utilized retired athletes. It was primarily football players to create a little video, a promo, say, hey, we need you. We want you to come back to Phi Beta Sigma. And that helped reclaim brothers and bring them back to the organization. We need to do creative and innovative things like that to try to bring our brothers back that have kind of, lost their way in Sigma. But I think, the key is ensuring, let them know why we want them to come back. But what keeps us all together, Brother Tucker, is, our first principle, brotherhood, the fellowship. Everybody loves the fellowship of the organization. So we also have to incorporate that into our conversation when we say, hey, I need you to, one, you're my brother, let's continue to grow our relationship, but we need you to help us in our communities. So I think those are some great talking points with respect to trying to bring brothers back to where they need to be in Phi Beta Sigma.
How would your line brothers describe you? I got to shake you up a little bit.
Well, I would say bossy, maybe, because I was the line president, right? And some would probably say nerdy. I was also very studious. I was like, yo, you got to get your history. I was the one that was making sure everybody knew their history. We just had our anniversary. I just celebrated my 33-year anniversary this past Thursday. And I set up a call for all of my line brothers. And we were all on the call talking about, catching up and everything. And, some are in the West Coast, those on the Gulf Coast. So we're all over the country. And one of the brothers said, I'm not surprised that you're running for international president because you were always that dude that kept us on campus, focused on our programs and, making sure that we wore Sigma pins on a certain day. I was Super Sigma from freshman all the way till I graduated. So they always say that I was Mr. Super Sigma, as a line brother after I crossed.
What are two things that you've learned in your previous role as international vice president that you think will help prepare you for the role that you're seeking now as international president?
I think all the positions that I have served in on the fraternity at every level, really, international, regional, chapter, state, I think all of those have really prepared me and made me more poised to be our next international president because, the relationships that I've been able to establish throughout the years, traveling throughout the 7 regions and kind of learning the different cultures, right? Learning what matters to brothers depending on where they're from, learning how to really develop a spirit of collaboration within the organization. I think that's essential because when you have a true spirit of collaboration, I think that allows you to come together and move as one. I think that's an area that we can improve upon as an organization because, I joke about this sometimes, but sometimes I feel like we move as 8, separate entities. We have 7 regions and then we have a national office, right? And I think everybody's competing for their particular area to kind of advance, but we can be more impactful when we're all together. So if blessed with the opportunity to serve as our international president, that's going to be priority number 1. Getting us on the same page allows us to really have greater impact. And the way you do that is when we're unified. So my experiences in Sigma have taught me that the biggest key is making sure everybody has buy-in in what you're trying to do. And then that allows us to kind of be able to move, with purpose. Otherwise we're just kind of like all over the place.
What would you say to a young man who you thought could be a good brother within Phi Beta Sigma if you wanted to recruit him?
Okay. So if I saw a young man who I was recruiting into Sigma, I would first start off by saying that, that I've been observing him and these are the characteristics and the qualities that I've seen in him. And I would certainly build him up and, congratulate him for having those positive characteristics. And I would say, these are the characteristics that make you compatible with our organization. I would let them know that there's a clear marriage there. The positive characteristics that you have, that is what we have in Phi Beta Sigma, and we want you to join our ranks. But I also would sell them on the point that we also want to be able to provide you some networking opportunities and let them know that within Phi Beta Sigma throughout, not just your Sigma career, but through your journey of life, because we have a large network. So those would be the selling points to that young brother. Say, hey, whatever field you're in, I can assure you we have brothers that have gone your course and working in that field. I'm sure there are brothers that can help mentor you to get you to where you want to be. So those would be some of the selling points with that young brother, ensuring that I get that brother to at the very least come to an interest meeting and join our ranks. So and if that didn't work, I'd have to figure out another strategy. But that would be my 2-minute elevator speech.
Hey, I love it. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to a brother who's on the fence as far as casting a vote in the upcoming election? What would you say to that brother?
I would say to that brother, first, like continue, to do your research, because you want to make an informed decision, right? And our website, illustrates all the work that we've done in Phi Beta Sigma. So I have a very extensive history in providing real, deliverable, and measurable programs, outcomes. And I think when you want to elect your next international president, you have to look at the past. And I think, anybody can talk nicely. Rhetoric is great, but I'm a man of action. And when you look at my service to the organization, every position that I have served, it wasn't with self-elevation, but it's true, in a true spirit of servant leadership. And I've been able to provide, programs that have been impactful for our brotherhood and the community. And I think if anybody's on a fence, look at that. Look at my history. Look at what I've promised and what I've delivered. Look at the consistency of how I have been engaged in the fraternity. It's been organic. It's a lifestyle for me, in terms of providing support to my skill set, in terms of leadership and everything else. It's a Phi Beta. It's a lifestyle. So I would tell a brother that look at all those things, but also look at me outside of Phi Beta Sigma too. I've been tested and proven in other civic organizations. One of my passions is food deprivation. At 18 years old, I was providing food at homeless shelters in the Newark Penn Station. And this past year, we formed a partnership with the United States Department of Agriculture and provided food to like 14 different cities in the Eastern Seaboard. So those are some of my passions. So I think brothers know that Sigma is really about providing real support and impact in communities. And I think that's what we need in our leadership. We don't need politicians. We need people that are going to be true leaders. Somebody that's going to have the courage to really speak up, ensure that our organization is speaking on the issues that impact our brown and black communities. I have a proven track record professionally, managing over 400 people, $33 million budget, always being successful. So I just think those are the things when you look at your leader, you got to look at multiple aspects of their life. And if they've demonstrated success, then that's your guy. And I'm saying I'm your guy. So I want brothers to feel good about who they elect or when they elect myself to be our next international president of Phi Beta Sigma.
That's very well stated. I appreciate you sharing those points with us. So, for those brothers who want to learn more
Mhm.
about the Sigma Forward campaign, the concept, and the program, where would they go to learn more?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for that question. So anybody who wants to learn more about the campaign activities and what we're doing between now and leading up to conclave, we ask them to visit our website, which is sigmaforward1914.com. No spaces in between, sigmaforward1914.com. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram. I'm leaving one out, I think, but we've got 4 social media platforms, and you can, it's integrated into our website. So go to the website and you can certainly follow everything that we're doing throughout the campaign. You can send us an email if you want to, direct communication with me, any specific questions that you may have. We're doing Blue Room discussions between now and August. And for those who don't know, Blue Room discussions is no holds bar. For the brothers that came in the 80s and the 90s, real conversation, whatever question you have, you bring it up, talk about it, and we move on to the next question. So Blue Room discussions, we're going to have about 3 more between now and August. So we want brothers to come on and register for those as well. But we certainly want brothers to make an informed decision. And as we, work towards Conclave Myrtle Beach in August.
And we're looking forward to it. And I may have to register for one of those myself. Brother John B. Lamothe, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us here on Greekly Speaking and sharing not only your leadership experience, but a little bit about your Greek experience and your background. We appreciated the opportunity of getting to learn a little bit more about you. And if there's anything we can do to help promote any of the positive things that you and your organizations have going on, just let us know, okay?
I appreciate that, Brother Tucker, to you and your team in Greekly Speaking. Thank you for providing me an opportunity to, in this platform to sharing about myself in the platform. It was truly fun, a great experience, dialoguing and conversing with you. Continued success to you in what you're doing and getting messaging out, to the Greek community. And God bless you and stay safe and stay well.
Thank you as well. He's Brother John B. Lamothe, candidate for international president of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I'm Eric Tucker with Greekly Speaking, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Have a
All
great one.
right. All right. Go Mob.
Go Mob.